This is Tehachapi. Sit back and relax as Key, Corey, Greg, and Ashley talk about what's happening in and around Tehachapi.
It's Tehachapi time. Key Budge today in studio from the Tehachapi Police Department. Two gentlemen. We've got Acting Lieutenant Jason Dunham.
Thanks for having me, Key.
And our Code Enforcement Officer and Reserve Police Officer Tony Bonelli. Guys,
Key.
welcome.
Thank you, sir.
It's nice to have you guys in. Tony, this is your first time.
Yes, sir.
But you and I, we go way back. We go back quite a ways, many years, back down to the Antelope Valley. When I'm working LA County Sheriff, we both worked at the city of Palmdale together. So we've stepped on some of the same tumbleweeds, and it goes back many years.
Many years.
And we're going to talk today about tumbleweeds and some other things that affect the city. We're going to talk about code enforcement issues today, things that we see that we hope that people will listen to and we'll find a kind of a semblance of compliance along the way, because that's always, isn't that the goal of code enforcement, is compliance?
It's voluntary compliance all the time.
That's exactly the goal. So Jason, I know this is something that in your role that you've stepped into here as the acting lieutenant. Now you have a lot more hands-on dealing with the code enforcement issues around the community.
Yes, and working a lot closer with Tony than I ever have.
So I'm sorry for that. I'm teasing. I do that because I've known Tony for a long time. But working with Tony has been, my past experience was really a blessing, because he's always yes. Hey, we've got this problem, Tony, we need to take care of this issue, or this has been a complaint, and we need to figure out how to get it done. You find answers. So I tease you, but it's because you're good at what you do.
I appreciate that, Key.
So
he's very good at what he does. He is a yes man, but he's a solution man. He's always finding solutions on how to fix these problems.
He's the answer. Yeah, absolutely finding the answer to the problem. So thank you for being, always open and always being willing to take on things and figure it out.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. So Jason, do we want to start with code enforcement and or are there some other things that did you want to talk about before we get into the code enforcement topic?
Well, we could do it either way. One of the things I wanted to make sure I touched on before I left here, if I can do it right now, is I just want to give thanks for the police department being allowed to participate in Special Olympics. If anybody's seen the social media posts, they know back in April, members of our department were able to go be a part of the Special Olympics basketball game. And that was an amazing event. I had a great time there, and God bless those people that take care of those children.
When I saw the video that you produced, and thank you for doing that, I use the word powerful, but this really fits right into that term. When you watch it, you get emotional when you watch these athletes celebrate and perform, and then yes, they really feed off the energy of the crowd that was there, that was watching them and cheering them on. So I was really happy to see, that we were so deeply involved in that.
Yes, it was a great experience, and we had a great time.
Now, I know let's also briefly talk about, we sent out a press release this week regarding a crime that occurred within the city. And we did this because it happened during the week. So let's briefly kind of talk about the incident, only because I want to speak about, it's important when you see something suspicious that you call.
Yes, always call, and we can vet all that information to determine if it's something that we can follow up on, or if it is a dead end, it's a dead end. But basically, we had somebody have some money stolen from them, and we are great at the department with identifying the frequent flyers, if you've heard me talk about before. But none of us recognize this gentleman. And so what we are trying to do is have the community help us identify this person so that we can bring them to justice.
And I think part of it is when we looked at the surveillance photos that came about for this potential suspect, was that they were in some kind of work attire,
correct,
which would kind of blend in. We would, as a worker wearing, a reflective vest and that kind of thing, where people wouldn't even think twice, because we see so many people wearing the green or the orange vests. Oh, it's a worker. Okay, he's in a rush. That's why he's hustling across the parking lot.
Right.
But in this case, it was something different, and we're just, because with the time of day, it was broad daylight. We're really hoping that someone saw something and go, oh, I did see someone run across the parking lot. Well, that was kind of weird.
Yes, any information like that is helpful. And Key, we don't know what he was doing at the bank or in the parking lot prior. What we've kind of figured out is maybe there wasn't any banking going on his behalf. So if you've seen anything, if you were there last week around 1:30 in the afternoon at Bank of the West,
This was Friday, May 5th.
Friday, May 5th, there may have been some stuff going on in the parking lot that you went, that's kind of weird. And if you've seen something like that, give our detective a call and let him get some information from you, because he's actively trying to identify who that person is.
And then we bring this up because we did put out the press release. It's on our social media, so you can get all the details there and about the incident and what we've released, and take a look at the photo. Anytime you see something and you go, that's just kind of weird, make the call.
Yes.
Because your guys are out rolling around, and they don't know that you saw something strange because they weren't there to witness it.
Correct.
But it might be something that you are looking for, or you're going to stop something before it happens.
Yes. Yeah, if you see something, anything, give us a call. That's what we're paid for. We're paid to go investigate and see if there's criminal activity occurring.
Okay. All right, and that's 661-822-2222. That's the dispatch number. You don't have to call 911 with something like that, but you call the dispatch number to say, hey, I just saw something that just doesn't sit right with me. And then an officer can go check it out and determine whether or not everything's normal or there is something kind of amiss.
Absolutely. This is a small community. It is a tight community. So anybody that's lived here for any amount of time, you guys will know what looks off and what looks on. So if you see something out there that looks off, give us a call and let us go out there and determine if it's criminal activity or not.
Okay, great. All right, now let's kind of steer back to where we wanted to have our topic today. And we want to talk code enforcement. And this time of year, because, Tony, this year I think is on the weed abatement side. Let's kind of start there on the weed abatement side. We've had so much rain. People are going to have to mow vacant lots multiple times. I know that on my property, I'm going to have to knock down the weeds 2 or 3 times this year, just as a given, because there's so much water that hit the ground, and the weeds are just going to keep growing.
Correct. It's been a blessing that we got this much water, so we're kind of getting out of the drought area. But yeah, several property owners have already cut their properties 2 or 3 different times. It's the time we're getting to the fire season, and we have a deadline of June 15th that we're letting all parcel owners know. And again, that's parcel owners, vacant land of acreage that need to get the weeds cleared out and the brush cleared. I've had a couple different citizens kind of reach out and kind of distinguish between the vacant parcel and the residential. I had some people reaching out residential saying, hey, I got till June 15th to cut my front yard. So this is a fire hazard issue for acreage. So vacant parcels, June 15th. Residential properties, that's a weekly thing. That's a weekly maintenance that's done on your property. So if you commercial buildings, the Walmarts, the Walgreens, the shopping centers, that's a weekly thing. Along with residential properties, it's a weekly thing. Maintain your property, keep it cut and cleaned. If you have a gardener come out there bi-weekly, take care of it, great thing. But we do have some properties that haven't been touched since last year, and those are the ones that are probably may have to take some abatement action, which we don't want to do. We always want to gain voluntary compliance. So there will be letters being sent out, notice of violations to residents, just to let them know.
So let's talk about what abatement truly means. We know that, but it just means you got to take care of the problem, make it go away.
Yeah, abatement-wise, it's just to take care of the violations that's on the property. If you live on your property there, you have overgrown vegetation, look down the street, you'll see everybody's lawn that's cut, and you're just kind of sitting up there, a foot and a half, and get it cleaned up, kind of blend in with the rest of the neighborhood, make everything look beautiful. It's kind of beautification in the neighborhood to make everything look nice. You have some trash in the front, put it to the side in the trash can, put it out of public view. You have the junk car that's in the driveway that's on jacks. Take it off the jacks, put a cover, send it inside the garage, put it away, or remove the vehicle. We want everything to look nice as it does through the entire street, through the entire neighborhood, through the entire city.
There's a lot to that, and part of it is what they call the broken window theory.
Yes.
And that's a part of community-oriented policing. So when you go, why is our police department worried about whether I mow the lawn or not? Well, it does. There's been studies that show that when you take care of properties and they're maintained, it's less likely to be an area where crime's going to occur.
Correct.
And then, so with that, we'll kind of let's further that, Jason. So community-oriented policing. When we look at a property that's not taken care of, what's going through the mind of not the regular person that's working, but maybe the criminal?
So the criminal, obviously, and you'll see this in in the animal world too. They're looking for the easy target. Okay, so if you've watched any animal hunt, they look for the easy target. It's the same thing in the criminal world. They're going to go down your street and they're going to look for, that's an easy target. The house isn't maintained. The property looks bad. So those people aren't paying attention. They may get 3 or 4 houses down where their grass is trimmed, everything's clean and nice. More than likely, they're not going to engage that property because it's clean. They figure people are paying attention. So when a criminal's coming through, you don't want to be the residence that doesn't look like it fits in. And oftentimes with any, I guess, housing market, when properties are not kept, and Tony can vouch to this, oftentimes these criminals or transients may think that house is vacant. So potentially there could be somebody that's residing there, just not paying attention to their property. But, we encourage, even if nobody's living there, take care of the property and make sure that the neighbors aren't going, look at that property, it looks bad.
So if you own a rental property and it's not occupied and you live out of the area, we probably see that. There's probably people that own residential homes that they use them as rental properties here in the city, and they live Santa Clarita, or they live in Bakersfield, or they live in another state. I'm sure those properties become a little bit, more challenging to deal with because you don't have a local landlord or owner that you work with, but you're able to track down who owns the properties.
Correct. It can be a problem. It hasn't been so far. We've had really good luck reaching out to these people. We have their contact information on file, so if we have an issue, we can contact them. It just becomes an attractive nuisance, and it's attractive to the people you don't want to be in the neighborhood that are coming there. The person's coming by and saying, I think that house is vacant. I think I'm going to set up shop here. We haven't had too many of that here, and we try not to have that. So we try to make sure that, everything's taken care of, whether it is vacant or not. It may not look vacant because it's cut, it's cleaned, it's maintained.
And we have municipal codes that are in place that city council has approved that give the authorization and require us as homeowners, here in the city limits, to maintain our properties to a certain standard.
Correct. In the residential zones, commercial zones, we do have the municipal codes that are in place, basically to take care of those. Some people aren't aware of it; they don't know about it. They sometimes move here from other places that not used to taking care of a property. They maybe come from a place where they lived in a condo or something, or a homeowner association where it was already taken care of. This is new to them, so sometimes I have to go out there, knock on the door, let them know, hey, how you doing? I'm from City of Tehachapi, and just let them know about the ordinance. And then we didn't know about it. So then at that time, they're educated, they can get it taken care of, and we won't have that problem again. And then for those that kind of ignore it or stuff, then they get a violation notice in the mail. And usually at that time, they'll take care of the property. Otherwise, I may have to go out there, knock on the door, and contact them to see what's going on.
Okay. So, and we have done emergency abatements for properties that have become longtime problems and people that don't take care of it. Doesn't happen very often, but it has happened in the past.
Correct. These are properties that usually have fallen through the cracks through a relative or somebody that has passed away, and nothing has been taken care of the property. It's been going through a probate system through the court, and no one's done anything with the property. So at that point, we have to, safeguard the neighborhood and basically go in there, and we have to do the abatement. City will take on that. We have to get an emergency abatement order through the Superior Court to go on there and have a contractor abate the violations that are there.
So it's almost like getting a search warrant, but it's you're actually providing service to that property for the benefit of the rest of the neighborhood.
That is correct.
Okay. So I know that that's one of the things that goes around the community where people call and they'll, say, hey, we don't know what's going on with this place. It used to be taken care of, and now it's not anymore. Is that a call that comes through dispatch?
Yes, it's actually a call that comes through dispatch and gets calls to my line. Or I'll get a voice message of it if I'm out in the field. And, people are just concerned. Those are the people that we want to call to say, hey, you know what? I've lived here, for 15 years and we've never had this issue in our neighborhood, but I noticed this property looks this way. Call us, let us know, let me go out there, let me determine what the issue is. It may be something that people are on vacation, weren't aware of it. They may had, some type of family situation happen that was bad in the situation there, and they weren't able to take care of the property at the time. But I'm able to get a hold of them, find out what's going on, and I usually find the answer out, what it is, and it gets taken care of.
Now, I know that when you probably come across circumstances where we're dealing with senior citizens that have got a property, and they physically just can't do the labor in the yard, and they might not, maybe on a fixed income, and they can't afford to have a gardener come out. And in those circumstances, do we have some community groups that are willing to help and step up, that sometimes kind of say, hey, we'll help out this senior and take care of the yard?
We do. We've had that in the past. We have Love Tehachapi and a couple of the neighboring churches have an outreach team that goes out. And so when I do come across any properties like that deal with that, I reach out to them and I kind of put them in contact with the people there so they can get the outreach team and go out there and go out there and help them out. They have crews that go out there and they mow, they remove the trash. They just help people around in the neighborhoods where if I get a complaint, I say, we have a complaint on this property here. They really need your help. And the outreach teams go right out there.
So, I mean, we're not just the evil government that comes around and just slaps a ticket on a place and says, hey, you have to pay this fine and take care of it? No,
we're actually here to help everybody. So it's a team effort.
I love the fact that we work with other organizations, the volunteer groups, the churches. That's the sense of community. That's more of the community-oriented policing, model.
Yes.
And that's something that we embrace and engage.
Oh, yes, all the time.
Okay. Now, let's switch back over to our fire season and that June 15th threshold. So the goal is for all the vacant properties to make sure their weeds are mowed down by June 15th.
Correct. That's the city limits is June 15th, and June 1st is for the county areas.
Okay.
So in the city limits, we want to have it done by June 15th is our goal. I know it may not be the exact date due to the fact of people working. We have very few people that are actually doing the weed abatement, that have tractor services that do it. So we send the letters out a little early this year so that people can find someone local that can come out there and take care of the work. Because in the last few years, it was been kind of hard through the COVID times of getting people to work and come out and do the work. So we kind of sent the letters out just a little bit early this year so that people have enough time to get everything taken care of.
Okay. And what's the reaction been with the early of sending the letters? Are people appreciative, or are they just like, okay, I'm on it?
I've had 2 or 3 phone calls of people that reached out and just to let me know that, hey, we are working on it. And I was like, I really appreciate that. It was great. And, I start driving around town this weekend. Lots are being cut. I couldn't believe lots are being cut everywhere. And I just sent the letters out, in the last couple of weeks. They're already on it. They're working on it.
And it probably helps getting the early start on it because of the demand that happens right before the deadline.
Yep.
Correct.
And everyone waits to the last week or 2 weeks, and it's like, wait, I'm booked. So there's some openings now, so it's a good time to at least address it. You might have to hit it again, but it's not going to be nearly as bad as if you wait till June.
Yeah, it won't be nearly as bad. And I think the fact that the weather has been good the last few days and weeks. So people have been getting out there on the weekends. They've been cutting their own grass. I've seen people who own parcels that have been actually out there themselves cutting it. They have the riding mowers and doing out their work. It's, it's kind of a little bit late in the springtime, but it's nice weather now. It's not cold. There's no snow. And I think now people are coming out and they want to get their properties taken care of.
Yeah. Well, Jason, what are some of the other things that we see through the code enforcement that you hear about that you've got to bring to Tony's attention and that you're looking at on a regular basis?
Sometimes we'll deal with people's signs that they leave up throughout the community, whether they're having a yard sale or things like that. Vendors that are maybe coming through the city that shouldn't be vending in the city. Those are some of the things that come to my attention, and then I have to get with Tony so that we can remedy those types of things.
Well, Tony, let's talk about signage and the things that you deal with on a regular basis. There are some automatic no-nos when it comes to signs, and people just think, hey, I'm going to put this up on this corner because I might get a little extra business, or I'm trying to sell something.
Correct. And I think it's just knowledge. People just don't have the knowledge that they can't do that. So I kind of educate everybody and let them know. So we'll get people that put out signs near the Home Depots, commercial areas there. And basically, they're out there because they have a trade that they do and they want to offer it to the community. And obviously, they need to go about it in a different way of advertising it through the papers, newspapers, online, Facebook or so would be even better. But with the signs out there, it's called off-site signage that's on there, and they're putting on private property. And in our municipal codes, they don't allow that. So what I do is I have to go out there, find the signs, and I personally call them, let them know, and inform them. Hey, obviously you can't have the signs out here. can you come pick up your sign and remove it? We don't want to take care of the signs. We don't want to destroy their signs. The signs are their property, and they can put it somewhere else on private property with the permission on the residential property and be able to put something there. They pay a lot of money for these signs. So I like to call them, let them know, hey, it can't be here at this time of this location. So here's the sign. They come pick it up, and it's kind of real receptive to it, and then they come pick it up and get rid of the sign.
I would think they'd be appreciative of the fact that they got the phone call, they got the warning, and they get a chance to pick up their sign so they can place it properly.
Exactly. They're very appreciative of it. Now, dealing with the other signs of like garage sale, yard sale signs, technically it can't be on any post or pole anywhere within the city. However, it does happen, and people move it and they remove them after the yard sale. Some put up boxes. They put, rocks in the boxes. The thing is with those type of signs, they'll blow into the street, cause an accident. We don't want that. So the main thing is if the signs are put out that they happen to have put out for the garage sales, they need to be removed after it's done.
As soon as you said that, I flashed back to thinking about being in the Antelope Valley, and you come up on a telephone pole, it's on a street corner, and it's got about 150 nails that are sticking out like a quarter to a half inch. It's really a safety hazard.
Yeah.
But if you ever go to lean on something, you're probably gonna get a rusty nail to the hand. But it's this, you never have to take a nail with you if you're gonna go put up a sign in the Antelope Valley. You just force it right onto the nail head. So, it becomes that's a little bit of a safety issue, but it's unsightly. And then people use duct tape, and it's just, you're not being respectful of the rest of your community when you do that.
Correct. And like I said, it kind of, you'll go down one street and make one neighborhood street kind of like, wow, it's plastered with all these signs. And then you go to the other neighbors, well, this street looks great. There's no signs on it. So we try and keep it even throughout the entire city and just go around. I go there on the Mondays that I'm here throughout the week and see some signs there and take them down. And if I have an address and a number on it, I'll go to that address and contact them and let them know, like, hey, what's going on? I say, hey, no, not to worry. Just to educate people. Because again, I had some people that moved here from out of the county and they weren't familiar with that. Where they lived, that was a kind of weekend thing that they did, and it was allowed. So I just let educate them here. It says, obviously, you know what? Put it in the paper right here. Put it in the newspaper, put it on Facebook about the sale you're going on. You'll probably get a lot more business that way also. And they're real receptive to it.
Yeah, that's nice. I love the educational aspect that Tony comes from. It's like, hey, let's go ahead and let's give you the info, let you digest it. But I bet you every once in a while, you're going back to that same property that's having the career garage sales every weekend. It's what they do for a business, and I'm sure you've come across that.
I've had a couple times here. And one time it was kind of like it's the homeowner having one, and then the homeowner allowed his neighbor from a different city to come have a sale at his house, but he was gone. So then I have a new person that I'm dealing with at this location. So I said, hey, I'd let that person know. He said, well, my neighbor said, well, yeah, your neighbor, he told you the wrong information. So I have to educate this person right here. So basically at that point, we sent a violation notice in the mail to the owner of record. Anything after that could result in the citation, which, we really don't want to. We just want them to take care of the problem right then and there.
Okay. Jason, what other things do we see?
I would say some of the street vendor stuff is what we see, stuff that may happen on the weekend when I'm a firm believer that some of these people know when Tony's working and when he's not working. So if you see some of that stuff occurring on the weekends, you can always give us a call. Some of the stuff is just not sanitary. They don't have the proper licensing to do what they're doing. Tony sees that quite frequently. People like to come to the city and sell their product, but there's a way to do that legally.
Well, let's talk about, because some people don't even think about what you talk about, sanitary and the health aspect. So when we're dealing with food items, I would think.
Correct.
So people are selling some kind of food.
So basically people, they come here. It's beautiful. Our town's beautiful.
Yeah.
They come here, great weather, great scenery, a lot of people coming through, tourists visiting on the weekends. People say, well, that's great. We got people coming through the neighborhood here. Look at coming downtown. That's beautiful. I'm going to come here and sell some food. And not saying that the food isn't great, but the fact is that they come here to sell a product that hasn't been inspected. They don't have a county health permit. They don't have a business license. So when people go and buy this food, you're taking the chance of being sick, getting sick from whatever it's there. They're not, refrigerated at the right temperatures. They haven't been inspected. And with that, it's against the municipal code here. So what we try and do is we trying to advert these people from coming to the town and letting them know, hey, listen, obviously, hey, sorry to bother you today. You can't sell in the city. You do not have a license. You need to obtain a license and have a health permit. If you have a health permit and you have a license here, not a problem. If it's okay in our city that you're allowed to do it, then you know what? They'll give you a permit to do it. If it's not allowed, you won't be able to get the permit and you have to go elsewhere.
And you think about that. I mean, too, especially if it's a food item, a part of the health department requires like having a bathroom facility, being able to wash your hands, those type of things, just basic sanitary issues that workers of food products need to adhere to.
Yes, and I think sometimes entrepreneurialism is the way this country was built. So sometimes I think Tony may get a bad rap for messing with these people, but the reality is there's other business owners that takes away from that may have a storefront and have done everything the way they're supposed to do it, and then this person shows up and parks too close to their business or closer to business, and it takes away from what the person who up the street is doing legitimately. So we don't want to be the bad people in this, but like Tony says, we want to educate them and let them know that there are things that are allowed here and things that are not. They need to seek the proper permits and things like that. So it's not trying to be big brother and push people away. It's just making sure that they have the things they're supposed to have to do business in the city.
Yeah, that's correct. We when you come here, have the right permits. We want everybody to be safe here in the community. And if you're going to have a business here selling things, you need to be selling items that are safe for people to that are edible, so that people aren't sick. And that it has been so for like other residents out there and citizens. If you contact and see somebody like this, the thing you want to look for is obviously in the window they're going to have a grade from the health department, and it's going to let you know that they've been inspected. They're going to have a license on file right there, right in the front window, so anybody can see it right there. They're going to have a business license and they're going to have the health permit. If they don't have those, I wouldn't recommend even contacting them, because at that point right there, you're taking that chance of possibly getting sick.
All right, Jason. So what are some of the other things that we see, or we want to be mindful of and remind the community, hey, we're here and we're doing our job, and we just want to be good partners and want you to be a good partner as well.
Yeah, that's what we want to strive for in this community. Is we don't want to be viewed like we're picking on everybody. We want everybody to understand that the city has taken a stance. Like Tony says, it's beautiful here, and we want to maintain that. We want to keep that trajectory going for the city. We don't want it to deviate from that. So it's about partnerships and education and keeping this place unique and not letting it turn into something that is not, a town in LA or something like that.
Yeah, I think we're very, I literally was down in LA about 5 days ago, and it's a culture shock. It's like going into a different country. I mean, it's not like you've just gone to a different county. I mean, it is completely different. I'm talking about downtown LA, along Wilshire Boulevard, along the 405, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I'm not in. Well, I'm definitely not in Kern County, or I'm not in Tehachapi anymore. Yeah. So it's a different world. So we pride ourselves in taking care of the community. We pride ourselves in taking care of our own properties. And that's what we really hope that everyone embraces.
Yes, what we want them to embrace is, it's like anything in life. Once you get behind, it's hard to get caught back up. And I think you see that when you're in Los Angeles. I mean, there's municipal codes to prevent people from sleeping on the sidewalks and making homes and stuff like that, but it hasn't been enforced for so long, and they're so far behind. I think there's an opinion that if they throw a bunch of money at housing, that's going to fix the problem. I don't think that's going to fix the problem. I think a lot of those people in other areas choose to live that way, and they don't want any of the services that are being thrown at them. That's the goal here. A great trajectory. We don't want to get behind, and that's why you see us out there constantly educating the public, and Tony is a busy man.
So it's kind of like your code enforcement, but your code education.
100%. It's the thing with enforcement, the wise of the codes. It's like not everybody is aware that certain codes exist and regulations in the city, and obviously it changes from county to city. So each one has different things. So people that move from a county area into the city area may be used to one set of rules and regulations, or when they come to the city, it's completely different. So when I do find a violation like that that's occurring on their property or some type of issue that I got to complain about, I like to go and educate them. Hi, how you doing? Introduce myself. Welcome to the city. Let them know that, hey, this is not allowed at this time here. Obviously, it may have been at a different location out of the city, but here our municipal codes do not allow it. So then I give them the chance to fix it, find the problem that they have, get rid of it, and then they have my number. They can get a hold of me through email, through my voicemail, and they contact me, let me know that it's been taken care of. I can go back out there, make sure that it's been done, and then we can close that case out.
What other things do you see out there, Tony?
A lot of complaints that have been brought to my attention are dealing with RVs.
Okay.
And it doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but I do get a lot of calls about it. And the thing with the RVs is that obviously we have an ordinance that doesn't allow RVs to be parked on the street. People cannot sleep in the RVs overnight or on the RV at any time, given time here in the city limits. A lot of people like to bring the RVs. People own them. They bring them out of storage, bring them to their house. They load them up. They're there for 2 or 3 days. I get it. We understand. They're loading up. They're going on vacation. Not a problem at all. When the RV is sitting there for weeks on end and it's not moved, I think some people just aren't aware of the ordinance.
I mean, developing cobwebs around the wheels.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So I got to go out there and I try to educate them, let them know that, hey, obviously, there's an ordinance for this. Technically, it shouldn't be on the street any time. I said, I understand you guys are going on vacation. You pulled it out, whatever the case, that's fine. Now, if you do have RV access or it fits, legally in your driveway, it doesn't encroach or extend into the sidewalk area, then that's perfectly legal to have it there. But when it's on the street and it's there for several days, I'm going to start getting complaints about it. And then I got to go out there, put a notice on the car. And then sometimes it doesn't even get moved. And I have to issue a citation at that point. But I try at all times, make contact. And a lot of the time I can't even get contact at the door. So I leave a note in my business card for them to call me just so that they know, because a lot of people I deal with, they're not aware of it.
Let's talk about illegal dumping. And something just before we went on air, Corey happened to see here in the dumpsters of City Hall some tires that were thrown away in the dumpsters here for some local businesses. And I know what category that fits under. Can you just go out and throw tires away in a dumpster that's not yours?
No, you can even throw away tires in your own personal dumpster. Tires are a unique item that has to be taken care of and disposed of properly. Same with oils and automotive fluids. Obviously, you can go to your local AutoZone and dump your oils there, your coolant, stuff like that. With tires, it's different. But I know there's certain days and times that they have take-back events through Waste Management where you can remove and bring your tires there and everything of that nature. If you're using a dumpster from someone else, obviously that's considered illegal dumping when you're dumping it into a dumpster that is not yours at a location of a private property of anywhere else, big dumpsters. If you're walking through the park and you have trash in your hand and you throw in the dumpster there, obviously that's normal. But when you start taking items that are of large descent, basically, you got old junk in your backyard, old chairs, tires, car parts, automotive brakes, whatever it may be, and you go to use it someone else's dumpster at a public location, whenever, it's illegal dumping. And if we are caught, you will be cited for that.
That's a zero tolerance.
Zero tolerance.
Yeah, and that makes sense because it's part of the beautification of the community. And I know we have part of our public works team is out there. I think we've got 2 guys that are committed to just litter abatement, and they're just picking up the small items. But they come across big items, they have to pull out a utility trailer and pick it up and haul it away. And it's unsightly. It's unfair to the rest of the community.
Yeah, and it's unfair to the person paying for the trash service. They're paying for this big unit so they can dump their trash into, and they show up Monday
and it's full.
And so they're the ones that are paying for it, and you just cost them some money.
I am personally, on my own personal feelings, I'm happy that we have a zero tolerance policy on illegal dumping, because it is one of those. And again, I flashed to the Antelope Valley those days of, just driving to past a vacant lot, and you'll see, the mattress, the tires, the old washing machine, and then household debris just discarded in a lot. And then if you got further out in East County, out towards Lake Los Angeles, Little Rock, God, it was even worse than that.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that here that we in the city limits, we have that zero tolerance. I know that the county tries, but I know that they don't have as many, code enforcement officers that can work the unincorporated area. But here in the city, we say no.
No.
Yeah, no, we're on it. Yeah, and I haven't had many calls for it. I've had a few here and there, and they turned out to be not illegal dumping. And there's some that have been, and I was actually able to find the people, and they actually had to come clean it up and end up getting a citation for it.
Okay, very good. What are some of the other things that you have to deal with?
Basically, like a lot of commercial properties. Obviously, everybody likes going to Walmart. They go shopping. They go to Walgreens. They go to Albertsons. There's other commercial locations that are currently vacant that we have to really maintain and make sure that they're taken care of, that they, as we were talking about with the residential properties, that they don't look vacant. Because when they do look vacant, it's an attractive nuisance. It attracts the wrong element to there with, graffiti, vandalism, and things of that nature. So we do have some buildings, commercial properties here in the city that we're basically contacting the property owners, have them get on it, make sure the lighting is on, make sure it's looking well manicured, really cleaned up, the parking lots, the facilities, make sure the gates are locked, make sure your property itself is taken care of. I'm personally not the property manager, nor is the city of Tehachapi. Yeah, you're responsible for your property. And if I have to come out there and talk to you on the phone, whether I talk to you in person or whether you're getting a notice of violation or you're getting a citation, one way or another, you're responsible for your property.
Now, does lighting, that plays also into that broken window theory?
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Crooks don't want to be seen. So
No.
if it's dimly lit, not lit, they're more likely to lurk around in those dark spots.
Correct. A couple summers ago, arrested a gentleman that had broken into the cement plant across from Kmart. Went inside there, looked around, I think maybe stole a computer, and then made his way over to Kmart where it was dark. That's where I ended up contacting him and finding him with stolen property. So, yeah, when it's dark, that's where they want to go. Out of sight, out of mind.
Tony, anything else that kind of pops to mind that's reoccurring? Or how about anything that's interesting that you go, I'll always remember this story? You don't have to give names or locations, but one of those where you came across and go, oh my gosh. And it doesn't even have to be here. This could be back to your days in the Antelope Valley, where it's one of these code violations that you go, wow, I can't believe it went on this long or it became this big of a problem.
With the ones in Antelope Valley, there's not just one particular that comes to mind. There's a few. And those ones deal with the distressed properties back in the recession time, where it was houses that were completely vacant for days on end. There was no property owner per se to contact. There was on paper.
All the foreclosures?
Yes, but you can never get a hold of anybody because it was actually registered back to a bank.
Right.
And at this time, there's so many banks and there were so many properties that not one bank can hire a property preservation company to come out and take care of it. So it seems like we, the city at that time, were an actual property management company because we were doing abatements, on a monthly basis. We'd have people break in, there'd be fires started, there'd be dumping all over, there's trash all over, and I'd get it cleaned up one weekend. I'd come back a week later, broken back in. There'd be trash set up right there, and then finally got to a point to where it actually was set on fire and it burned down. When you can't get a hold of a property owner, no one takes an initiative and responsibility for their properties, that's what you get. And obviously we don't have that here. And we haven't had that here. And I continue to work the way I do in here in the city so that we don't have that.
I think that's a great lesson right there. We look to a neighboring community that has had problems, much bigger city, but they have had some big problems. That's one of the reasons is because we don't want to model after, what they've had to go through. And by nipping it in the bud right away, having some zero tolerance activity, behavior, and the education behind it, constantly educating people, we hope to avoid ever having that as an issue here.
Correct. Proactive and not reactive.
I like that. Proactive. Well, excellent. All right, guys, what else do we need to touch on?
Well, I've got a few things, Key, just upcoming events for some of the things the police department's going to be involved in. May 19th, we will be having field day at Jacobson Middle School. So we'll have a patrol car there where they can check out their patrol car, and we'll be handing out stickers and stuff like that. Next week, Monday, is Peace Officers Memorial Day, and then that starts Police Week, where we recognize officers that have been killed in the line of duty or injured in the line of duty. That'll be taking place next week, so we'll have a couple officers that'll be going down to Kern County Sheriff's Headquarters for their ceremonies there. We have Memorial Day coming up in a few weeks, so we will be leading that parade. And then June 2nd, a couple of officers will be participating in the Cummings Valley School 5K run. So those are some of the things that are coming up just to keep the community aware.
Just more education.
More education.
Yeah, education. It's the number one thing, because if you are not aware of anything there and not educated about it, you just don't know. You're gonna go off of old reaction of old things of where you used to live, and all this was okay here.
Yeah.
But it's not here. And if you don't know about it, that's the main thing. Once you know about it, you're educated. Everybody's good. Everybody's on the same page, and it kind of just falls in with the rest of the neighbors. And you look down the street, and your lawn's cut, your lawn's clean. The next is clean, and you can look all the way down the street, and it's all the same way. You can drive around town and appreciate where you live and be happy that, wow, look how beautiful the shopping centers are. Oh, look, I'm going over here to get something to eat. And and that's just how this town is. It's a friendly, beautiful town, and that's the way we try to keep it.
And I'll tell you, folks, if you're listening, you're in, and you can hear Tony's voice, and it sounds very calm and relaxed. It's because that's who he is. Yeah. He is that guy, but he also does follow through. And that means if you don't comply and you just give him the, yeah, I'll take care of it, whatever, and you don't, Tony will be back. And then Tony will have to do enforcement. He's trying to give you the heads up right now. Don't take this chilled vibe that he's giving you that he's not going to follow through, because Tony will follow through. He'll give you the education. He's going to walk you down that process. He's going to hopefully get the voluntary compliance that we all look for. And then he doesn't want to have to come back. But if he does, you're going to have to do something. Yeah,
it's kind of like that. It's kind of like I'm forced at that time. My hands are kind of tied, and I try and work with every avenue I can. Extensions. Hey, not a problem. I'll come back in about a month. Hey, how about we do this? How about we work a little bit here? Let's do one portion of your yard right now. Why don't we get the weeds cut on the left-hand side, and let's work on the right-hand side next month.
Give them small goals.
Oh, we try to do small goals to build up to the main goal of getting everything taken care of at once.
And you know what? That's what some people need. If they can, it becomes overwhelming. So let's think about that and I'm sure you probably experienced it, because as soon as you said that, I go, oh, it's that person who's overwhelmed. It's like it's too much for them, so they don't even want to get started. And if you give them a small goal and say, look, you got to show me a little progress. So just do this side of the yard. Just show me that you're trying. And that gives me a little bit more, give you a little bit more time.
Yeah, it shows me that obviously they're taking initiative. And I get it, we're all busy. We all have lives. And I may not know what one family has going on in their life. They may have something going on that we don't know about. And I like to work with everybody because, I don't know their background. I don't know what's going on, but I'm sitting there and say, hey, I'm here to help. So what can we do? Let's do this. How about I'll give you 60 days and we'll do this right here. And let me come back here. And if something comes up, just give me a call. Let me know. Send me email. The worst thing is if I don't know and I don't know what's going on. And if I go out there, I don't know what's going on. If you had something come up and you had some type of emergency situation and you weren't able to get this taken care of, call me, let me know. Because I don't want to drive out there the next week and say, oh, they're not doing anything. And kind of form my own opinion about it because I haven't been talked to. I've come out here 3 or 4 times, and it's the same every time I come out here. Please call me. Let me know what's going on. Let me work with you. Let's to solve the problem together.
How does that make you feel, Jason, when you hear one of your team members, talk about, the philosophy and how he's embraced it and how he puts that plan into play?
I love it. Tony is one of the best employees that the police department has. He gets the job done. I think he utilizes spirit of the law, and then if he's got to go to letter law, he does. So, like I said before, I work with Tony a lot closer now than I did when I was in the sergeant capacity, and we have daily conversations, and we try to address all the things that are occurring in the city because every day it's something new. I'm proud that I get to work with him.
Now that you're taking on this role, and now you've got your hands, working with Tony, are your eyes open a little bit more as to what code enforcement does and responsibilities they have?
Yes, absolutely. And I would say before I was still in touch with Tony when I would see something like, hey, Tony, can you take a look at this? I see something over here. Because I think a lot of our officers they're not working in the capacity of code enforcement, but they may see something and go, hey, Tony. So yes, I did work with him in that capacity as a sergeant, but obviously now it's a lot more. I'm getting a lot more different phone calls from different people saying, hey, what's going on with this? Can we take a look at this?
we've put out informational sheets in the past, and I'm thinking back a couple of years where we talked about some of and this is probably 3+ years ago, where we had some of our most common violations, and we put out a little information sheet on that. Do you think that we still see the same issues from 3 years ago as the most common, and because we had kind of come out of, and it might have been longer than that, now that I think about it, do you see the same issues occurring, all the time, or does it kind of go in different kinds of waves?
It's generally the same. It's the same thing. It's it's just same thing, different person. As you can kind of say, someone new moved in, someone moved out, and it may be the same thing with one property that was never like that before, and now it's this time. And it kind of goes with what the person staying there has going on. They might have had a new job where now they're being called away from their home, for weeks on end at a job that they're working out of the area, and they're not there. I had a few people like that are working out of the area, and they just weren't there to be home to take care of their stuff. So with those ones, like I said, give me a call, let me know. I work with them, and they say, hey, I'll be back in town on the 3rd, and I'll get all taken care of, sir. And we work with them, and it works that way. But everybody has something going on in their life that obviously I don't know about, but a lot of people don't know about. And once I'm able to work with someone, they say, hey, I can get this taken care of at this point or this point. That's the best. But just not contacting me or letting us know what's going on, that's the worst. Please let me know what's going on. Stay in contact with me. Something changes, give me a call, shoot me an email. We'll go from there. We'll take care of it.
Okay, perfect. So if anyone sees something or has one of those properties on their street, can they reach out to you?
Oh, they can reach out to us. They can call the regular police station line, and they'll transfer you to my actual extension, and they'll leave me a message there. And again, I'm here Monday through Thursday, 7 to 6, actually 7 to 5. I'll reach out back to you. I mean, maybe gone on a Friday when I get a call, but I'll reach back to you the next day I'm in the office.
Okay, so that's 822-2222, and just ask for code enforcement or Officer Bonelli?
Correct. Or they can reach me at extension 243.
Okay, perfect. So you can punch that right in, 243. All right, guys, anything else that we need to talk about?
I think that's it.
Very good.
Nice little recap.
Yeah, nice little recap, and just want to, like I say, come in here and let everybody know that weed abatement is fast approaching.
It is. It is. Things are coming up the hill from Bakersfield today. You can start to see the transition from the greens to the browns. And, if we get to Mother's Day, that's a blessing that you can still see some green out there. But it's starting to change. The grass is starting to dry. It'll be another couple of weeks for us, but that's the reason why we have the June 15th date in place.
Correct. And that's why we, I had the letters sent out earlier. And like I said, I've been driving around town today, and I can't believe lot by lot is getting cut at this time. I pull up to the corner. Wow, this one's cut, where it was like, 2 or 3 feet tall 2 days ago. And I get there and right now it's gone. Like, wow, looks great.
Excellent.
So it's a real good response that everything's already being taken care of as of right now. So
okay, very good.
Looking good out there.
All right, folks. This has been Acting Lieutenant Jason Dunham, Officer Tony Bonelli. Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you, Key.
Thanks for having us, Key.
All right. And if you've got any questions, you can call 822-2222. You can ask for Code Enforcement Officer Bonelli, or the extension was
243.
243. We appreciate the time you spend with us here on Tehachapi. If you have a question for us or something you would like us to talk about, maybe with Jason, or bring Tony back, you can send it to media@TehachapiCityHall.com. And we'll catch you again soon right here on Tehachapi.
Tehachapi is a conversation about Tehachapi, featuring the community members who make this such a special place to call home. If you have a question or a thought you'd like to share, email media@TehachapiCityHall.com. Thank you to Gary Mazzola for sharing his song, This is Tehachapi.